How's it going, everybody? ExpatStacker, and in this video I wanted to discuss why, despite gold and silver demand being at all-time highs in the US, the spot price continues to drop, but the premiums remain high. First, let's examine a statement that the demand is at an all-time high. Is that actually true? Well, according to the US Census Bureau's data and data from the US Mint, that statement is true. This is information that I covered in my Weekly Restack show, but I understand that not everyone has time or wants to sit through a 25-minute news show. Normally, I don't extract individual segments from that show because it's already in a condensed format, and I want to reward loyal listeners who are willing to listen to that show because I work very hard on making that show. However, I think that this information could end up being very important, so I decided to do it this one time. And I also want to share some of my own thoughts. In the Weekly Restack show, I just try to give facts and not give any of my own thoughts. So with that said, if you want this type of information in the future, you'll have to listen to the Weekly Restack show. And if you did listen to the Weekly Restack show, no worries, because I'm offering additional information here in this video. So let's go ahead and press on with that. Now, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, America's annual net gold import-export numbers show that 2020 was the first time in 24 years that the U.S. became a net importer of gold. Spanning back to 1996, the U.S. had been a net exporter of gold. So that gives you some idea about the supply and demand dynamics. Now, the U.S. Mint gold bullion sales reach an all-time monthly record in January of 2021 of 220,500 ounces in a single month that month. Now, in February 2021, although the U.S. Mint sales of American gold, Eagle, Silver Eagle, and Gold Buffalo bullion coins slowed when we compare them to January 2021, when we compare February 2021 to February 2020, the numbers are staggering. So let's quickly compare some of that data. For American Gold Eagle coins, 125,500 ounces were sold by the US Mint in February 2021, which is a 1,692.9% increase when you compare to the sales of February 2020. Just a year ago, they only sold 7,000 ounces of American Gold Eagle coins at that time. So for the first 2 months of 2021, American Gold Eagle coin sales are at 346,000 ounces, which is a 416.2% increase when compared to the 67,000 ounces that were sold in the first 2 months of 2020. Now, it's really important to keep in mind here that 2020 was a record year of demand. I just told you that it was the first time in 25 years that the United States became a net gold importer. So we have to keep that in mind. And so far, the numbers for 2021 are crushing the numbers from 2020. Now, American Silver Eagle coin sales for February 2021 from the U.S. Mint finished at 3,191,500 ounces, which is 391% higher than the sales of 650,000 ounces in February of 2020. So far, in the first 2 months of 2021, 7,966,500 ounces have been sold, which is 77.2% higher than the 4,496,000 ounces of American Silver Eagle coins sold through the first 2 months of 2020. Again, much higher. And it's also important to note here that in 2020, it was also a record year for silver demand in the US. And on top of that, the top 10 silver producing nations in the world, of those countries, the US was the only nation to increase its silver output. It increased it by about 2%, according to the US Geological Survey. So, yet the numbers through 2020 2021, once again, so far, are just crushing the silver demand that we saw in 2020. Now let's look at American Gold Buffalo coin sales from February 2021, which were 16,000 ounces, and that represents a 1,500% increase over the sales of February 2020, which only saw sales of 1,000 ounces. American Gold Buffalo sales for the first 2 months of 2021 so far are at 77,500 ounces, which is 252.3% higher than the 22,000 ounces delivered during the first 2 months of 2020. Again, keep in mind last year was a record year for gold demand, literally a generational level of demand. And so for this year, the demand is 10x or sometimes even 100x what it was last year. And in some respects, it's never ever been this high before. So now that's a lot of numbers that I just threw around and everything. What does that all mean? To truly know the answer to that, what is required is time. I don't know what it all means yet, but I believe it will mean something very notable as history unfolds and we look back on this time. What is certain is that the conditions we are currently in are unprecedented, and I personally want to continue acquiring gold and silver precious metals because when the time comes in the future to realize what this moment in history means, I'd personally rather be holding and be with those precious metals than without. So with record demand, decreased supply in many cases, why on earth are spot prices dropping in the face of impending inflation? And if spot prices are dropping, why are the premiums remaining so high? I think these are some questions that have been on a lot of people's minds lately. So here are some of my personal thoughts. First of all, we should all at least understand that there is a difference in the gold and silver paper markets, which determine the spot price, and to which the bullion banks have recently admitted that there may not be enough actual physical bullion in their vaults, in particular with silver, to actually cover all of the paper assets. You don't have to understand technical analysis and all these details and everything. As long as you understand there's a difference between the paper gold and silver markets and the physical, then you're good. So by understanding that first basic fact, we can see there is a clear-cut difference between the paper spot price and the price of the physical metals. Next, gold and silver both have industrial applications. I feel that gold's industrial importance, and in particular with computers and electronics, is understated and very rapidly increasing. Silver's industrial applications are also increasing, but much more well known. The spot price for silver is more sensitive to industrial demand drivers than gold's is, but both have been down recently because of shutdowns in the global economy. However, physical bullion premiums can increase independently of industrial demand drivers if demand for bullion increases, but industrial demand doesn't increase. Those two conditions are possible, and I think that's what's going on right now, at least in part. Most everyone who is aware of what has been going on in the recent past with the silver space knows that this has been the case. Wall Street silver, the silver squeeze, and just a general distrust of public, fiscal, and monetary policy from private central banks and from governments, as well as increased printing of money, has people looking for places to invest their money and try to be safe. The global economy, however, is not yet reopened at this point. So people have money to invest, they're looking for places to put it, but the industrial demand drivers really just aren't there yet for gold and silver. However, when the global economy does eventually reopen, and when this impending inflation does start to really hit, I believe that's where the proverbial rubber will meet the road for gold and silver, and the industrial demand drivers will also meet the physical bullion demand, and we will see the spot price begin to close the gap with the premiums. I'm not a pumper, and I'm not saying that this is urgent or even that it will happen quickly. In fact, if investment interest in gold and silver doesn't remain at such high levels where it is now, by the time the global economy reopens, it could never happen. But I think the timing for those two things to occur simultaneously can and will happen. In fact, I think it is actually likely to happen, just in my personal opinion. And that's why I'm going to continue stacking. So, I thought that this information is very enlightening and that this data and these facts are helpful. I think they were eye-opening for me as well as some other people. So go ahead and leave your thoughts, comments, and questions in the comment section. Again, if you want the raw facts for this kind of stuff in the future, you're going to have to tune into the Weekly Restack show. But I thank you all who already did, and I thank everybody else for watching this video. This is ExpatStacker, and I'll catch you on the flip side.